There is something happening inside your body right now, every single night, that almost nobody talks about. It does not happen during the day. It does not happen after meals. It happens while you are fast asleep, completely unaware, and it might be the real reason your morning blood sugar numbers keep creeping up. You wake up, you test your glucose, and the number stares back at you. Higher than you expected. Higher than it was when you went to bed. You did not eat anything. You did not drink anything. You were unconscious for 7 or 8 hours. So where did the sugar come from? Your own liver made it. While you slept, your liver was quietly dumping glucose into your bloodstream, and your body was not equipped to handle it the way it used to. If you are over 60, this process is sharper, faster, and a lot more stubborn than it was at 40. But here is what almost nobody realizes. There are 5 specific drinks, simple things you can make in your own kitchen in under 5 minutes, that have been shown in real studies to help flatten that overnight sugar surge. No prescriptions, no expensive supplements, no complicated routines, just a cup, some warm water, and ingredients that have been sitting in your spice cabinet this whole time. Before we get into it, if you want health explained simply, hit subscribe. We are chasing 5,000 and every click counts. Now, let us talk about what is actually going on while you sleep. To understand why bedtime drinks matter, you first have to understand what your body does with sugar between midnight and sunrise. It is not what most people think. Most people believe that blood sugar is only about food. You eat, sugar goes up, insulin brings it down, and then everything resets until the next meal. That is the daytime story. The nighttime story is completely different, and, it is actually more important for people over 60 than anything that happens at the dinner table. Here is what happens. Around 2 or 3 in the morning, your body starts preparing to wake up. It does this by releasing a wave of hormones: cortisol, growth hormone, glucagon, epinephrine. You do not need to memorize those names. What you need to know is that all of them do the same thing to your blood sugar. They push it up. They tell your liver, release stored glucose, get fuel into the bloodstream. The body is about to wake up and move. Your liver obeys. It starts breaking down glycogen, which is basically your emergency sugar reserve, and dumping it as raw glucose into your blood. This is not a glitch. This is a design feature. Your body is doing exactly what it evolved to do. It is giving you the energy you need to get out of bed, stand up, and start your day. The problem is that for millions of people, especially after 60, this surge goes too far. The liver releases too much glucose, and the body cannot pull it back fast enough. You wake up with a blood sugar reading that is 20, 30, sometimes 40 points higher than when you went to sleep. Doctors have a name for this. It is called the dawn phenomenon. And it is one of the most frustrating things that people dealing with blood sugar issues face, because you cannot out-willpower something that happens while you are unconscious. Think of it like a thermostat in an old house. The heating system is set to kick on at 6 a.m., so the house is warm when you wake up. That makes sense. But what if the thermostat is miscalibrated? Instead of warming the house to 70 degrees, it blasts it to 85. You wake up sweating and the windows are already fogged up. The system did its job. It just did it too aggressively. That is what the dawn phenomenon is. Your hormonal thermostat is set to give you a morning sugar boost, but the boost is too big, and your body's cooling system, which is insulin sensitivity, is not strong enough to bring it back down. Now, why does this get worse after 60? There are 3 reasons, and each one stacks on top of the next. The first is muscle loss. After about age 40, you naturally start losing muscle mass if you are not actively working to maintain it. By the time you hit 60, you may have lost 10, 15, even 20% of the muscle you had in your 30s. Muscle is not just for movement. Muscle is your body's single biggest glucose disposal system. It pulls sugar out of your blood and burns it for fuel. Less muscle means a smaller disposal system, which means more sugar stays in your bloodstream longer. The second reason is insulin sensitivity itself. As you age, your cells become less responsive to insulin. The key is still there, the lock is still there, but the lock gets stiffer. It takes more insulin to open the same door that used to swing open easily. Your pancreas has to work harder to achieve the same result, and If your pancreas has been working hard for decades, it is not as strong as it was at 30. So now you have less muscle to absorb glucose, and the muscle you do have is not listening to insulin as well. That is a double problem, and it is happening at exactly the time when your liver is dumping more sugar overnight. The third reason is sleep quality. After 60, sleep architecture changes. You spend less time in deep sleep and more time in lighter stages. You wake up more frequently during the night, even if you do not remember it. And here is the part that connects directly to blood sugar. Poor sleep raises cortisol. Cortisol raises blood sugar. It is a direct, measurable cause and effect chain. One bad night of sleep can make your insulin sensitivity drop by as much as 25% the next day. Not over months, not over years.
Overnight. One night. So now you can see the trap. Aging reduces your muscle mass, stiffens your insulin response, and degrades your sleep. All three of those things feed the dawn phenomenon. All three make that morning glucose number harder to control. There is a pattern that shows up in primary care all the time that captures this perfectly. A man named Robert, 64, retired teacher. Active enough, walks his dog every morning, eats reasonably well. He has never been diagnosed with diabetes. His doctor told him his fasting glucose was a little elevated at his last checkup, 108, but not high enough for medication. Just watch it, the doctor said. So Robert bought a glucose monitor. He tested first thing in the morning every day for 2 weeks. The numbers confused him. 112, 115, 118, 121. They were all higher than his lab results. He was not eating before bed. He was not snacking at midnight. He was doing everything he thought was right. What Robert did not know was that his liver was doing exactly what the dawn phenomenon does. It was releasing glucose at 3 a.m., and his body, with less muscle and stiffer insulin response than he had at 40, could not bring it back down by the time he woke up. He was not failing. His body was just running a different program than it used to. If any of this is starting to sound familiar, if you have ever looked at your morning glucose number and thought, I did not eat anything, why is it high? Drop a like on this video. It helps other people who are dealing with the same thing find this information. So, what can you actually do about it? This is where the 5 drinks come in. Each one works through a slightly different mechanism. Some slow down glucose release. Some improve insulin sensitivity. Some calm the stress hormones that drive the dawn phenomenon. Some do all 3. None of them are magic. None of them replace medication, diet, or movement. But each one has real research behind it, and each one takes about 3 minutes to prepare. This one sounds strange, and honestly, the first time you try it, it tastes strange too. But the science behind it is surprisingly solid. A study published in the journal Diabetes Care looked at people with well-controlled type 2 diabetes. They were asked to do one simple thing at bedtime. Consume 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in a small amount of water, along with an ounce of cheese. That was it. No other changes. The next morning, their fasting blood glucose was measured and compared to a night when they had the cheese without the vinegar. The results were striking. Waking glucose levels were significantly lower on the vinegar nights. Not slightly lower, significantly lower. The researchers attributed this to the acetic acid in the vinegar. Acetic acid does something very specific in your body.
It appears to slow down the rate at which your stomach empties food into your intestines, which means glucose enters your bloodstream more gradually. But there is another mechanism that matters even more for the overnight story. Acetic acid has been shown to reduce the liver's output of glucose. Remember the dawn phenomenon? Your liver dumping sugar at 3 a.m.? Acetic acid appears to quiet that process down. It does not stop it completely, but it dampens it. Think of it like turning the volume down on a speaker. The music is still playing, but it is not shaking the walls anymore. Here is how you make it. 1 tablespoon of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. the kind that still has the cloudy sediment in it that is called the mother, and it contains beneficial enzymes and bacteria. Mix it into a glass of warm water, about 8 ounces. Drink it 20 to 30 minutes before bed. If the taste is too sharp, you can add a squeeze of lemon. Do not add honey or sugar. That would defeat the entire purpose. And one important caution: never drink apple cider vinegar straight. Always dilute it. Undiluted vinegar is acidic enough to damage your tooth enamel and irritate your throat. Always water, always dilute. A few things to keep in mind. If you are taking medications that lower blood sugar, insulin, metformin, sulfonylureas, anything in that category, vinegar can have an additive effect. That means your blood sugar could go lower than expected. This is not dangerous on its own, but it is something your doctor needs to know about. Talk to them before starting. And if you have kidney issues or gastroparesis, which is delayed stomach emptying that some people with long-standing diabetes develop, vinegar may not be appropriate for you. This is a conversation to have with your provider, not a decision to make from a YouTube video. This one is gentler, softer, and probably the easiest of all 5 to incorporate into a nightly routine. You likely already have a box of chamomile tea somewhere in your kitchen. Most people drink it for relaxation, for sleep, for calming down after a long day. But what almost nobody knows is that chamomile has a measurable effect on blood sugar markers, and the research is better than you might expect. A meta-analysis, which is a study that pools data from multiple clinical trials to get a bigger, more reliable picture, looked at chamomile consumption and glycemic markers in human participants. The findings were significant. Chamomile consumption was associated with a meaningful reduction in fasting blood glucose levels. It was also associated with a reduction in hemoglobin A1C, which is your 3-month average blood sugar. In animal studies, the results were even more dramatic, with blood glucose dropping sharply in a dose-dependent manner. That means the more chamomile extract the animals received, the lower their glucose went. So how does a delicate little flower do this? Chamomile contains compounds called flavonoids, specifically one called apigenin. Apigenin has 2 jobs that matter here. First, it binds to receptors in your brain that promote relaxation and reduce anxiety. That is why chamomile makes you sleepy. Second, it appears to have anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects that protect the cells in your pancreas and improve how your body uses insulin. Remember the connection between sleep and blood sugar. Poor sleep raises cortisol. Cortisol raises glucose. Chamomile improves sleep quality, which lowers cortisol, which helps keep glucose stable. It is working on both ends of the problem at the same time. It calms the nervous system so your stress hormones do not spike overnight, and it supports the cellular machinery that processes sugar. Here is how to use it. 1 chamomile tea bag or 1 tablespoon of loose chamomile flowers if you prefer, steep in hot water, not boiling, for about 5 to 7 minutes. Drink it 30 to 45 minutes before bed. You can have 1 cup, or if you want to match the doses used in some of the studies, you can have 2 cups throughout the evening. Do not add sugar. If you need sweetness, a small amount of stevia is fine. Chamomile is one of the safest herbs on the planet. It has been consumed for thousands of years. The only real caution is if you are allergic to plants in the daisy family, which includes ragweed and chrysanthemums. If you have that allergy, chamomile might cause a reaction, and you should skip this one and pick from the other 4. Cinnamon is not just a flavor. It is one of the most studied spices in the world when it comes to blood sugar, and the results are impressive enough that even the USDA has published research on it. Scientists at the Beltsville Human Nutrition Research Center, which is part of the United States Department of Agriculture, found that cinnamon extracts increase insulin activity several-fold. Their human studies showed that consuming roughly half a teaspoon of cinnamon per day led to dramatic improvements in blood sugar, with reductions in fasting glucose ranging from 18 to 29%. They also saw improvements in triglycerides, LDL cholesterol, and total cholesterol. That is a lot of benefit from half a teaspoon of something that costs about $3 at the grocery store. A separate study published in a peer-reviewed journal looked specifically at cinnamon tea. They gave participants 100 milliliters of cinnamon tea made from cinnamon bark and measured their blood sugar response after consuming glucose. The group that drank the cinnamon tea had a significantly lower peak blood glucose compared to the control group. The maximum glucose concentration dropped from 10.63 to 8.98. That is a real measurable reduction, and it happened with a single serving of cinnamon tea. So what is cinnamon doing inside your body? The active compounds in cinnamon, and these are in the water-soluble part of the bark, not the oil, appear to do two things. First, they mimic the effect of insulin. They actually help glucose enter your cells, which means your pancreas does not have to produce as much insulin to get the same job done. Second, they slow down the absorption of glucose from your digestive tract. If you eat something with carbohydrates and you have cinnamon in your system, the sugar enters your bloodstream more gradually instead of hitting all at once. For the overnight story, this matters because a steadier glucose environment going into the evening means your liver has less reason to overcompensate during the night. Here is how to make cinnamon tea. Take 1 cinnamon stick or half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. If using a stick, break it into smaller pieces and simmer it in about 2 cups of water for 10 to 15 minutes. The longer you simmer, the stronger the tea. If using ground cinnamon, stir half a teaspoon into hot water and let it sit for 5 minutes. The powder will not fully dissolve, and that is fine. You can let the sediment settle to the bottom and drink the liquid, or you can strain it. Drink this 30 minutes to an hour before bed. One important note, there are 2 main types of cinnamon: Ceylon cinnamon, which is sometimes called true cinnamon, and cassia cinnamon, which is the more common and cheaper variety you find in most grocery stores. Cassia contains a compound called coumarin, which in large amounts can be hard on your liver. If you are going to use cinnamon daily, Ceylon is the safer choice. It has much lower coumarin levels. You can find it online or in specialty stores. It costs a little more, but we are talking about a few dollars for something that will last you months. This one is different from the others. It is not a tea. It is not a vinegar drink. It is a warm, golden-colored beverage made from milk and turmeric. It has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for centuries, and modern research is starting to catch up to what traditional healers have known for a very long time. The key ingredient is turmeric, specifically a compound in turmeric called curcumin. Curcumin is one of the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory compounds ever studied. Chronic inflammation is a core driver of insulin resistance. When your cells are inflamed, they stop responding to insulin properly. The lock gets jammed. Curcumin appears to help unjam that lock by reducing inflammation at the cellular level. Now, turmeric on its own has a problem. Curcumin is not well absorbed by your body. If you just eat turmeric powder, most of the curcumin passes through without being used. But there is a trick that multiplies absorption dramatically. Black pepper. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine, and piperine increases the absorption of curcumin by up to 2,000%. That is not a typo, 2,000%. This is why traditional golden milk recipes always include a pinch of black pepper. People figured this out hundreds of years before science explained why it works. Golden milk also typically includes cinnamon and ginger, both of which have their own blood sugar benefits. We already talked about cinnamon. Ginger has been shown to lower hemoglobin A1C levels and improve insulin sensitivity in small studies. So when you drink golden milk, you are actually getting 4 blood sugar supporting ingredients in 1 cup. Turmeric, black pepper, cinnamon, and ginger, all working together. Here is how to make it. 1 cup of unsweetened milk. You can use dairy milk or a plant-based milk like almond or oat, but check the label to make sure it has no added sugar. Add half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, a pinch of black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, and a small piece of fresh grated ginger, or a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger powder. Warm it gently in a small saucepan for about 5 minutes. Do not boil it. Drink it 30 to 60 minutes before bed. It is warm, it is soothing, it has a slightly spicy, earthy flavor that takes some getting used to, but most people actually come to enjoy it as a nighttime ritual. Do not add honey or maple syrup. If you need sweetness, use a little stevia or monk fruit. One caution with turmeric. If you are taking blood thinners like warfarin, or if you have gallbladder issues, turmeric can interact with those conditions. It has a mild blood thinning effect and can stimulate bile production. If either of those applies to you, talk to your doctor before making golden milk a daily habit. This is the one most people in Western countries have never heard of. But in many parts of the world, particularly in South Asia and the Middle East, fenugreek has been used for blood sugar support for generations. Fenugreek seeds are small, angular, yellow-brown seeds that you can find in most spice shops, Indian grocery stores, or online. They have a slightly bitter, maple-like taste. The research on fenugreek and blood sugar is surprisingly robust. One study looked at people with type 2 diabetes who consumed fenugreek water. The results showed improvements in fasting blood sugar levels and insulin sensitivity. Another study found that daily consumption of fenugreek water, when combined with diabetes medications, helped improve glycemic control beyond what the medications achieved alone. The seeds contain soluble fiber and specific compounds called saponins and amino acids that appear to slow down sugar absorption and improve how your cells respond to insulin. Think of the soluble fiber as a sponge that sits in your digestive tract and absorbs sugar before it can reach your bloodstream. It holds onto it, slows the release, and gives your body a gentler, more manageable glucose load. Here is how to prepare fenugreek water. Take 1 teaspoon of whole fenugreek seeds. Soak them in a glass of water overnight, about 8 hours. In the evening, you can either drink the soaking water along with the softened seeds, or you can strain the seeds out and just drink the water. Some people prefer to chew the soaked seeds directly, but the taste is quite bitter, so most people strain and drink just the liquid. Drink it about 30 minutes before bed. You can also warm it slightly if you prefer a warm drink at night. A few cautions. Fenugreek can interact with blood thinners and with certain antidepressant medications. It can also lower blood sugar, so if you are already on diabetes medications, the combined effect could push your glucose too low. This is another one where you absolutely need to have the conversation with your doctor first. Also, if you are pregnant, fenugreek supplements are not recommended. The amounts used in soaking water are generally considered safe for most adults. But again, this is not a decision to make alone. Now, before we pull all of this together, there is one more thing worth addressing, and it is probably the most important part of this entire conversation. None of these drinks work in isolation. They are tools, not cures. If you drink chamomile tea every night, but you are eating a bowl of ice cream at 10 p.m., the chamomile is fighting a losing battle. If you have golden milk, but you sleep 4 hours a night, the turmeric cannot overcome the cortisol surge that sleep deprivation causes. These drinks work best when they are layered on top of the fundamentals. The fundamentals, if you are over 60, are these. First, movement. We talked in a previous video about how muscle activity pulls glucose out of your blood without insulin. That does not stop being true at night. If you can take even a short 10-minute walk after your evening meal, you are giving your muscles a chance to soak up glucose before your liver starts its overnight dump. Less glucose in your system going into the night means less for the dawn phenomenon to amplify. Second, sleep. Protect your sleep like it is a prescription. Go to bed at the same time every night. Keep your room cool and dark. Put the phone away at least 30 minutes before bed. And yes, I know that one is hard, but the blue light from your screen suppresses melatonin, which delays sleep onset, which shortens your total sleep time, which raises cortisol, which raises blood sugar. The chain is direct, and it is unforgiving. Third, the timing of your evening meal. Try to finish eating at least 3 hours before bed. If your body is still digesting a heavy meal when you lie down, your blood sugar is still rising from that meal, and now the dawn phenomenon is going to stack on top of it. That is how you get a morning reading that makes no sense. You did not eat at 3 a.m., but your dinner was still being processed at midnight, and your liver started its glucose release at 3, and by 6 a.m., you have 2 sugar sources colliding in your bloodstream. Drop a comment below with your age and which of these 5 drinks you want to try first. It really helps me understand who is watching and what topics matter most to this audience right now. So let us pull all of this together. In the short term, if you start incorporating one of these drinks into your bedtime routine tonight, you may notice changes within a week or two. Your morning fasting glucose may start coming in a few points lower. Not dramatically, not miraculously, but consistently lower. You might wake up feeling more rested, especially with the chamomile or golden milk, because better sleep directly translates to lower cortisol and better glucose control. The foggy, heavy-headed feeling that hits some people right after waking might start to ease. In the long term, this is where the real value lives. Every night that your dawn phenomenon is softened, every morning that your fasting glucose is a few points lower, your pancreas gets a small break. Your insulin receptors get a small reprieve. Your inflammatory burden drops a little. Over months, those small drops compound. That is the difference between a fasting glucose that slowly drifts upward year after year and one that holds steady or even comes down. That is the difference between watching your A1C creep from 5.7 to 6.1 to 6.5 and keeping it in a range where your doctor says, keep doing what you are doing. Here is what I would suggest in practice. Do not try all 5 drinks at once. Pick one. Try it for 2 weeks. Test your morning glucose before you start and after 2 weeks. See if there is a difference. If there is, keep going. If there is not, try a different one. Your body is unique, and what works for one person may not work as well for another. The apple cider vinegar might be your winner, or it might be the chamomile, or it might be the cinnamon tea. You will not know until you test. If you are already on medications like metformin, insulin, or any other glucose-lowering drug, or if you are taking supplements like berberine or magnesium glycinate that some people use for blood sugar support, those are absolutely conversations to have with your provider before adding anything new. These drinks are not replacements for medical treatment. They are additions to a plan that you and your doctor build together. Take what is useful from this video, but run it past someone who knows your full health picture before you change anything. One more thing. If you are not testing your morning blood sugar at all, this is the moment to start. You cannot manage what you do not measure. A simple glucose monitor from any pharmacy costs about $20 to $30, and the test strips are cheap. One test every morning, right when you wake up, before you eat or drink anything. Write the number down. Do it for 2 weeks. Then start one of these drinks. Keep writing the numbers down. The data will tell you whether it is working. Your doctor will be able to see the pattern. You will be able to see the pattern, and honestly, seeing your own numbers move in the right direction is one of the most motivating things you will ever experience. If you got something out of this, drop a like and subscribe. That is what helps this channel keep growing. The goal here is 5,000 subscribers, and every single one of you helps get us closer. That is my Telegram channel where the checklists and follow-up posts live.